Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, helping you to find jargon-free information before choosing a professional to help solve your problems and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stuart Andrew Alexander.
Hi and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And during this segment of the show today, ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy. In fact, I'm doing cartwheels. I'm jumping up and down. I'm so happy that we finally have, because she's so busy, we finally have family law attorney Kendra Thomas. Now, Kendra is the founder of Thomas Law Officers APC, and she's calling in all the way from Woodland Hills, and I do believe she operates in a second location in Newport Beach, California, but we're going to hear some more about that later on during the show. Now, Kendra, who is considered to be a leader in the area of family law, will be talking to you today about, this sounds very simple, but it's really important. She's here to talk about planning for divorce. So, if you are one of the many increasing numbers, and I must say, unfortunately, increasing numbers of people facing divorce, considering divorce, maybe you are already going through the divorce process, or you have even been divorced, then it might be just a good idea for you just to take a break, down tools, log out of Facebook, stop Twittering and Instagramming or anything else you happen to be doing which may cause a distraction. And you know something, you may even want to dust off a notepad and pen and get ready to take some great insights, some fantastic notes as we listen in to what Kendra has to share with us today. So, with that said, let's not keep her waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Kendra.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome, my dear. Now, we have about 15 to 20 minutes or so let's just jump feet first in. The water is absolutely fine. I tested the temperature, dipped my big toe in there. Feels great. So let's just both jump hand in hand and let's get started with this show, okay?
Okay.
Briefly, in your own words, Kendra, please share the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
Absolutely. We service anyone with a family law question or situation that can range from a divorce to a child custody matter to even just a property division or dispute. We handle all ranges from high net worth clients to people who have more simplistic matters that don't involve a lot of asset or not even a lot of debt, but, simple divorces. And to our celebrity clientele, we also offer more concierge services in the divorcing and child custody realm.
Okay, just a matter of housekeeping then, Kendra. Before we go any further, it must be said that anything you share with us from this point on today is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purposes of disseminating information. Now, can you just expand on that in your own words so that everybody is clear about what we're doing here today, Kendra?
Absolutely. My goal and purpose is to give as much information about divorce, about law as possible so people can make informed decisions. However, because I'm not aware of the specifics of what anyone is going through right now out there, I can't be bound by what I'm saying because I don't intend it to be legal advice, but really guidance so they can give it thought to how they approach thinking about their own legal matter.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Kendra. Now that everything is absolutely clear and everybody knows what we are doing here today, when you think about those people who you have just described, the ones who come to you for your help, the high net worth individuals, people with more simplistic divorce cases, when you think about those people, Kendra, what's the most common, and I'm sure there are so many that you could share with us today, but what's the most common misconception you come across while you're out there working with them on a day-to-day basis?
I think the biggest misconception is that everyone expects that a divorce is a divorce and that all divorces are the same. That's simply just not the case. Many Each divorce is different, and each divorce requires a different strategy depending on what the end goal is. Some divorces have children, and we need to be very mindful about the children, which will absolutely affect how the divorce moves forward. Other individuals, it's not necessarily so much about the children or the assets, but they have other motivations for getting through. So I think the biggest misconception is just one that everything is the same, when the reality is that how the divorce moves forward, how the uncoupling happens, should really be focused on what the end result is going to be.
Okay, so with that said then, Kendra, and based on what you just shared with us, please share an example, or let's say even a case study, so to speak, of how you have helped, or even how you would go about helping somebody who came to you with that common misconception or that challenge you just described, and what kind of transformational results you were able to, or let's say in general, would be able to gain for them.
Absolutely. Instead of a case study, I think I'll use a case that's close to my heart that was in my own office. I was brought in on a case where I was attorney number 3 or 4, and the case was very acrimonious, very, very high conflict between the parties. They were gearing up for a trial. The trial was going to be many days, and it was just really a difficult situation for everyone involved. A lot of fighting. A child custody evaluation was going to take place and had been ordered. A child custody evaluation, for those who don't know, is where an evaluator comes in, meets, and assesses the children and assesses the parents. And in some respects, it can be considered a little invasive, but they were just on a path that was very, very inflammatory. And in speaking with my client, one of the questions was, why are we on this path? What are we trying to do? And a lot of the feedback that I was getting from the client was this was about the other side being unreasonable, and about them not wanting to settle, and about the terms being unreasonable. So the question I really struggled with my client is, what is it you're hoping to obtain at the end of the day through going through this process? And working with the previous attorneys, my client had really thought that the end goal was financial security, and really just building on that financial security, and had very specific notions about what that looked like. But the more I worked with the client, I realized that at the end of the day, her biggest priority was the children and ensuring that her children were not affected. Well, there's no way your children are not going to be affected when they're placed in the middle of the conflict and may potentially need to come into court and testify against the other parent. Based on realizing her end goal, we were able to get everything back on a settlement track and maneuver it to where we could still obtain financial security, but ensure that the children could be removed by maybe massaging or looking at settlement a different way than the previous 2 attorneys had looked at it. And I think at the end of the day, everyone was able to walk away from the table very excited about the fact that these young children could be preserved.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Kendra. That's a fantastic case study that our listeners are going to find very useful. So, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is family law attorney Kendra Thomas, founder of Thomas Law Offices, all the way in Woodland Hills and Newport Beach, California. And she's here today, just as a reminder, talking about planning for divorce. Now, Kendra, with that in mind, and for those people who are listening in right now, what's one of the many pitfalls, or let's say misguided truths, that they need to be aware of, regardless of what kind of situation they find themselves in?
I think that in planning or trying to figure out their way through or to start their divorce, knowledge is power. And in many states, including California, there are laws that require each party to be completely transparent with financials. So this becomes a pitfall when we have one spouse who maybe is not as knowledgeable about the finances, or doesn't want to share information about the finances. So I think that in terms of pitfalls, what people need to look out for is transparency is key. Because if you're not transparent, there are laws that will hurt you. But also trying to walk away with as much knowledge as possible can only help your advocate help you.
So share an example of what kind of consequences could occur when one partner has more knowledge over the other?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there are individuals who have been dinged in terms of losing an asset. If you have knowledge of the asset, whether it be separate property or community property, and you're not transparent about it, and or you actually take measures to conceal it from the other side, I think courts have wide discretion in terms of how to deal with you, and you may find yourself losing an asset that you tried very hard to hide from the other side merely because you weren't honest and you were not transparent.
Fantastic. So I'm kind of curious right now at this stage because so far you've shared some great information. You've talked about some of the misconceptions, how people sometimes think that all divorces are the same, and you've shared a great case study of how you've helped a client of yours, and you've just wrapped things up there up until this point. We're talking about some of the pitfalls, and one of them that you mentioned is knowledge is power and how that can affect people in divorce. So right now at this stage then, Kendra, I'm kind of curious, without going into your background, because we're going to go into that at a later stage, but how many years have you been a practicing family law attorney?
12 years.
Okay, so within that space of time, those 12 years, when you think about all the people who you have helped then, Kendra, on a deep down personal level, just be real with me now. What does it actually give you? How does it make you feel when you're able to help those people to achieve that transformation they were looking for when they initially reached out to you? What does that give you? How does it make you feel?
Oh, it's incredible. It's amazing. There are people that I've worked with and have kept in touch with through the years that I don't even recognize them from when I first met them to who they are now. Working with people during this transitional stage in their life, it's empowering to them, and it's an incredible feeling to know that people can trust you at this level and that you can give back to them during a really difficult time. It's a really symbiotic and really neat relationship, and the high that you get from it is just incredible.
So let's talk about how you actually got started then, Kendra. What led you to this field? Speak a little bit about your backstory and your formal education, and especially your experience as it relates to family law.
Absolutely. So I started out in law, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I graduated from the Pepperdine School of Law, and I also hold a certificate in alternative dispute resolution covering arbitration, mediation, and negotiation from the Strauss Institute. And I started out actually in big civil litigation, which gave me just amazing skill in the courtroom. But as I was working at such a high level with amazing mentors, I realized that inside me, I kind of had that entrepreneurial dream, and I kind of had that dream of working maybe a little closer with hard-hitting daily life issues. So I stepped away from civil litigation and started to dabble in family law. And it was really fulfilling. I was really good at it. And so approximately 10 years ago, I went out on my own, opened the doors to the firm, and not only have we grown, we flourished, and we're really in a neat position to work with really great people at a high level doing family law, which has grown to be an area of law that I respect, I love, and I know very, very well.
So, Kendra, for those people in the Woodland Hills and Newport Beach, California area, and they're listening in right now, what final thoughts would you like to share with them before we close out with our last question for today?
I think that what I would impress upon everyone is, regardless of what you're going through, the best planning you can do is getting as much information as you can to share with your advocate, maybe even finding out what you don't know. But knowledge is power, and knowledge is key going through this, because when you bring your life to your attorney, you don't just turn over the matter and it doesn't suddenly become their life or their situation. It's still your life. And the more amount of power you can share with your advocate, the more they can empower you to be in the driver's seat and get you through what's probably one of the most difficult times of your life.
So, Kendra, the time has flown by so fast. So for anybody who is out there and they're thinking, I need to know more about planning for my divorce. If that's the case, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Actually, a phone call to our office, and I'm happy to give out that number at 877-479-7970. Again, that number, 877-479-7970. Just give the office a jingle, and we're happy to speak with you regarding whatever your situation. All of our consults are free, and if I'm not the best person to get you through your matter, we'll get you to the right place.
So let me just play devil's advocate for a moment then, Kendra. If I do call that number, just walk me through exactly what's going to happen so that our listeners know there is absolutely no risk to pick up the phone and give you a call.
Absolutely. Someone from my office will ask you what you're calling about. And if it turns out that you're calling and you'd like a little bit of information, they are going to take some information from you to make sure that I have all of the information and background I need. So if there's any research that needs to be done before I get on the phone with you, I can do that. But they'll take a little bit of information and then schedule a time for us to speak. And then depending on what your need is, we'll block some time out and just speak about your situation. There's absolutely no obligation to you. And hopefully by the end of our conversation, I'm able to provide you at least a couple of helpful tips for you to put yourself in a better place than you were prior to the conversation.
So no hard sales, no Fred Flintstone club hitting you over the head or anything like that, okay?
Absolutely not.
Perfect. Okay, Kendra, that is unfortunately all we have time for today. So again, ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we have been listening to family law attorney Kendra Thomas. Kendra, thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today. You have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator, advocate, and trustworthy advisor for your client's success. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Stuart.
You are so welcome, my dear, and I'd love to have you back on the show because I know we've only begun to scrape the tip of the iceberg today, but unfortunately we are out of time. Okay, so will you come back on the show another time and speak about another topic related to divorce?
I would love to.
Fantastic. The bill is in the post, all right? So all right, we're just joking, ladies and gentlemen, right? She has not paid to be on the show. It's free, but I just like to have fun. Anyway, while I'm speaking to you, the listener, if you are in the Woodlands Hills or the Woodland Hills or Newport Beach, California area, thank you so much for joining us today on this very insightful and what I can only describe as a very informative conversation with one of the top family law attorneys in the Woodland Hills and the Newport Beach area today. Again, her name is Kendra Thomas. Make sure you do check her out, to give her a call. I had a look at her website before she came on the show today. There are some great resources on there, so make sure you do check that out. And we'll have the link to her website beneath her show. So make sure you do check her out, give her a call. Whatever you do decide to do, I'm absolutely sure that you are going to be in good hands. So that's it, folks. Again, my name is Stuart Andrew Alexander. I'm related to the royal family. I'm sure you can hear that, right, Kendra?
Absolutely.
Okay. My name is Stuart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading family law professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So, until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.